So, what do you need to know about Florida State for this weekend? Better yet, who do you need to know about?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson, that's me. Alabama Internet legend Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and we'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making us first listen every single day. And I'm going to change my microphone now, which I've done, so I should sound a little better. Thank you for being an everydayer and the whole spiel. So Jimmy, getting ready for Florida State week. It's hard to believe game week is here. It is. It's freaking me out, man.
That offseason flew by.
I'm going to tell you, it's weird talking about the actual game versus some hypothetical something. I mean, we're still going to talk hypotheticals, but I'm just saying it's weird to be here. And I mean, I'm so geeked, I don't know what to do. But so, Jimmy, first and foremost, I'll let you just sort of go off on a rant about, or I don't even know, a soliloquy about what you would like to talk about when it comes to what people need to know about, or who do they need to know about when it comes to Florida State. Obviously, Gus Malzahn could be a part of the equation and his ties to all things Alabama. Tony White, the new defensive coordinator, runs this 3-3-5 defense that is not the norm. Then there's the running back situation. Some people were telling us from the last podcast that, hey, it's not going to be Roydell Williams that worries them. It's going to be Gavin Sawchuk, who the Oklahoma transfer, or Azumain Croma. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, who is a kind of a badass 4-star running back that Auburn desperately wanted, and Florida State ended up winning for him.
He's been impressive in their camp, too.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Mostly I was going to, one thing about Florida State, everybody looks at 2-10 and they're like, this team was awful. They were bad. But what everybody has to understand is this is a completely different football team. They live in the transfer portal, Luke just mentioned Gavin Sawchuk, who may, in fact, have more carries than Roydell Williams, who's their listed projected starter, but Gavin Sawchuk could easily get the most carries, and the freshman Cromar, he's been tearing up their camp. But when I was going over their defense, which has a lot of new guys, particularly in the front seven, it just struck me about how, 1 year ago we were about to play Western Kentucky, and I was looking at their defense and going, hey, they got a couple guys that can play, and Alabama wins 63-0. But going over the Florida State defense is a little different. They have a lot of good players. Of course they do. But let's talk about a few. And speaking of Western Kentucky, let's start there, because how about this fact that I don't think you've heard anywhere else? I don't think so. I haven't heard it anywhere else but here, because I discovered it this morning. For the second year in a row, Alabama will begin the season playing a guy named Deontay McCrary.
You hadn't even said it here yet. So how could you possibly already have heard it on here?
I heard it myself in my own head when I read it this morning for the first time.
Okay, go ahead, say it again.
Deontay McCrary, Alabama's opening the season against him for the second year in a row. How is that possible? Because he was Western Kentucky's best defensive lineman a year ago and has transferred to Florida State 2 years in a row. Alabama will open against McCray. He, good player. Started at Western Kentucky for 3 years. How about this? For a defensive lineman, 104 total tackles in his career at Western Kentucky. So This is a very productive player. 3 years with the Hilltoppers. Transfer to Florida State. Again, this is a transfer-heavy team. Another defensive lineman and a transfer, and the best player on their team. And this guy's going to be a handful. In fact, I'll go so far as to say this may be the best nose guard Alabama will play all season long, and possibly the best test Parker Brailsford will face all season long at nose guard in the interior for Florida State. Daryl Jackson, who's a Miami transfer.
Let me cut you off and say that I just looked. Deontay McCray had 3 tackles last year, 2 solos. I mean,
against Alabama in the opener.
Alabama. And Parker Brailsford, right? I mean,
correct. Yeah. Well, Parker Brailsford will have his hands full with Daryl Jackson. He's the nose guard at Florida State. Again, I think he may be the best nose guard Parker will handle all season long. 6'5", 337. That's a massive defensive
Good
lineman,
God.
interior guy. 6'5", 337. Yet, despite that approaching Terrence Cody type size, he's been a productive player. I mean, you're talking about 3 or 4, maybe 4.5 sacks a year ago. The NFL considers him one of the better interior defensive line prospects in all of college football. He played again his first 3 years at Miami. Weirdly had to sit out. He must have transferred outside of portal window. I didn't care to Google, but he sat out 2023 entirely, but played last year at Florida State, making honorable mention all ACC, one of the better defensive linemen in the ACC a year ago. He is Florida State's best player. This is a legitimate big-time matchup for the interior of Alabama's defensive line against Daryl Jackson. A couple other guys. How about Earl Little? I think we know him. He is projected to be their starting nickelback. He has never been a starter at Florida State, so a lot of people go, ha ha, you leave Alabama, you don't even start wherever you go. But Earl is only going to be a junior this fall, redshirt junior, and he will be their starting nickelback. And last year as a sophomore was Florida State Special Teams Player of the Year. He was their best player on special teams, now moves into a full-time starting role. I think we all know Earl Little is going to be a good player. I mean, I think we knew that at Alabama. I would say during his time at Alabama, he showed in his brief time that he was probably a future starter. And if he was the nickelback at Alabama, he could theoretically be starting. He'd have to beat out Deshaun Jones, but that's not exactly like beating out a day one pick of the draft, to be honest, right? So Earl Little is a good player. Their best player in their defensive backfield is Shaheem Brown. He was their leading tackler a year ago with over 70 tackles. So he's one of the few guys that's back from last year for Florida State. But again, their leading tackler on defense, also specializes in blocking kicks. I think he led the entire country in block kicks. Another safety, KJ Kirkland. He was their freshman of the year defensively last year. They give out that award for some reason, but he was a starter in 9 or 10 games last year as a redshirt freshman. So he goes into his year 2 as a returning starter for Florida State. KJ Kirkland, a good player. Last couple of guys are linebackers, and of course they are senior transfers. Most of Florida State's lineup on offense and defense are senior transfers. Stephon Thompson is in his 3rd school. He played at Syracuse and then Nebraska. Tony White, Florida State's defensive coordinator, came from Nebraska, bought this dude with him. 5th year starting. This guy's got 199 tackles and 20 tackles for loss in his career. So his senior played a ton. He lines up next to Elijah Herring, another linebacker who is, you guessed it, a senior transfer. He's a transfer from Memphis. Well, Mike Norvell recruited the kid at Memphis years ago, turned into an all-conference type player at Memphis last year, follows his old coach to Florida State. Elijah Herring had 151 career tackles. So Florida State is not the 2-10 team last year. It's practically all new personnel, a handful of returning starters who were decent players a year ago, and it's an all-new team, and it's going to be some level of challenge. Alabama's a 13.5-point favorite. I'm not reading all this to y'all and saying, hey, run to the nearest betting window and bet on Florida State. They're better than you think. My prediction later in the week is likely to have Alabama covering that spread. But this is a good team. Don't be confused about that 2-10 nonsense. This ain't a 2-10 football team.
Let me say this. I think you're right that this is more talented than last year's team. However, we're not here to be pessimistic. We're here to be optimistic. And while I think you're right, individually, like each guy you were laying out, that guy, who's the guy who's like 6'6", 357?
Daryl Jackson, who's their best player, 6'5", 337.
If there's anybody listening here who like sells Monjourno, I would give that guy a call. 6'3", 357?
6'5",
6, whatever.
Yeah, he's practically, he's a little short of Terrence Cody's size, but he's in the Terrence Cody ballpark, and Parker's going to have his hands full there. And as we know, in the interior in the Alabama offensive line, a bit of an issue. Jaden Roberts has missed a lot of practice with being in concussion protocol. I'm guessing here, but I'm guessing Jaden doesn't start because he's missed so much practice.
I'm wondering if he plays.
Might not even play. I think that's fair to guess. Just a total guess on my part would be Cam Dewberry starts at left guard. Geno Vandermark starts at right guard. Jaden comes in and plays a handful of snaps at some point in the game. That's just a guess on my part. But the point is, Dewberry's first start at Alabama. Vandermark basically new to the starting lineup, though we saw him quite a bit last year. Parker Brailsford, an all-star center. You're going to have to double team a 6'5", 337-pound playmaker. And Alabama's got a good nose guard in Tim Keenan. It's not like Parker doesn't see it every day in practice, but this is a legitimate, it's just a good reminder that people think of Florida State as a 2-10 ACC team. They have a handful of guys that would be very comfortable playing in SEC uniforms.
Yeah, sure.
I look at this as it's an SEC road game. That's what it is to me, an SEC road game, but also one that Alabama is rightfully favored to win by 2 touchdowns.
So what I was trying to get to, and I got sidetracked, is, okay, I think you're right. Individually, a lot of these guys are talented. Obviously Tony White wanted to bring this one particular dude with him from Nebraska, which is always a good sign for that particular dude. The Memphis All-Star, the Earl Little, we know he's good, blah, blah, blah. But the catch is, and they're all seasoned veterans, the catch is that we have no idea how that chemistry is going to be. It's one thing to have chemistry in practice. It's a whole nother ball of wax when the lights are on. And so that's what I would argue. Look, one of the more talented teams I ever played on in basketball, just doing pickup stuff. Because I used to play all the time. We had like 4 dudes who just scored a ton of points. The problem was, we couldn't figure out who was supposed to shoot it when we needed them to shoot it. It's like if you have a basketball team with 4 guys who average 25 points a game or whatever, who's the alpha? Well, I mean, you say, well, somebody will step up. Well, if they're all alphas, it can lead to its own set of problems. And same kind of thing here. Hell, they may all be betas for all we know.
I mean, look at what the Miami Heat did with that same story Luke's telling. Miami Heat did that. Hey, we signed LeBron James, and we've got Dwayne Wade, and we're bringing in Chris Bosh. We got 3 of the best players of the whole league. And what happened the first year they were there? They were a playoff team, but they were no threat to win the NBA championship in year 1. But after they played a whole season together, starting year 2, I don't know that they lost. Feels like they lost 7 games in 3 years, won like 3 straight championships. But that first year, when they were learning to play, same dudes, learning to play with each other, didn't work out. Didn't work out like expected.
Watch. Anybody can watch, one of those Love Island things. You put a bunch of good-looking people on an island, doesn't work out unless they've all been there a long time. I don't know. That doesn't work.
It's not leading into one of our live reads.
It is. I was trying to make this happen because on Love Island, you dang sure want to be Rougiette ready. And if I can find, here we go. All right, now we're cooking with gas. I really was trying to tie that in, and it just didn't work. And I'm sorry about that.
I thought it.
But let me tell you something that does work. Rougiette ready. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. Okay. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is the next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, everybody's changing their mind by then. Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, folks. Yes, it's going to be a great weekend. So you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. Why not you? I love that it's completely online. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. Head to rougiette.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege for 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege and use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety info.
College football season, I would recommend taking that Rougiette Ready on Mondays and Tuesdays.
It does make work a little more uncomfortable.
Well, you can't take it Friday. There's games. You got 36 hours.
Hey, I'm so fired up the week. I ain't gonna need it Friday. I'm so fired up for the dead gum weekend.
Yeah, well,
But
I'm fired up to watch games, and that starts on Fridays, and then there's games on Saturday into Sunday. I think taking that thing Monday, Tuesday makes
I
a lot of
was
sense.
watching like the old Shane Gillis when he hosted Saturday Night Live, and he was telling a joke, and like the audience just wasn't feeling it. And you could tell, and he goes, "I don't have any way to get out of this joke," and that's the way I feel about this moment right now. We don't.
How do we get out of this joke? Okay. Yeah, good.
So, all right, how will Bama look different
That's a great
than
question.
last year? It's a good question. You brought it up to me, and so I'm going to let
Yeah.
you explain it. I think you brought it up to me with the intention of explaining it. At least I hope.
Well, I mean, I brought it up because I think this is the fascinating thing to talk about. People talk about year 1 to year 2, you're more comfortable, and boy, a big theme of the offseason has been Ryan Grubb, and now Alabama's got a new OC. But it's the same head coach and it's the same offense. It's not going to look radically different, but in one way, I think it really will. I mean, the great coaches build it around what a team does well. And last year's quarterback, no doubt, was an extremely talented runner. That's not a toy that Kalen DeBoer and Nick Sheridan had in the past. I think in large part, the offense was sort of built around the fact that Jalen Milroe was so dangerous with his legs, even when he's running it, or the threat of him running it. They knew they wouldn't face, for instance, when you play Jalen Milroe, they don't face a lot of man-to-man defense. Why? Because if defenders are running with their back to the ball, Jalen Milroe is just going to take off running. So you're going to face a lot of zone. I mean, they just built it around his legs and what his legs would cause defenses to do, and they built it around that. It was very smart. And I give them quite a bit of credit, worked really well some of the time or even most of the time. Now, Ty Simpson's here. You build it around what Ty can do. And luckily, I think Ty can do what they sort of want to do. They threw it a lot in 2023 when they had a ton of success at Washington. Ty's built to do this. He's built to be a little more Michael Penix than Jalen Milroe was. Ty's more like him. Ty's a heck of a lot like Jake Haener, who they had a lot of success with at Fresno. But I think just in terms of how Alabama's going to look different, two major things on offense. I think you're going from about 23, 24 pass attempts a game to over 30.
I'm with you.
And
I'm with you 100%.
And I think the primary run play is no longer going to be a quarterback read option. It's going to be a straight handoff to the back, probably between the tackles. Sometimes they'll run it outside. They'll mix it up, running inside, running outside. The quarterback run, those option reads, sort of gone to the Seahawks, but a lot more throws now. Jalen was a talented deep thrower. They did a lot of that. There was a lot of verticals. Even when Jalen wasn't throwing it vertical, there were vertical routes. I think this is going to be a little bit more of a controlled move the sticks passing game with a premium on making first downs. Maybe not as many bombs. There will still be big plays because guys like Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard can take short passes and turn those into big plays. And there will also be some big plays because when you're throwing short, you're throwing short, you're throwing short, and every play the safety's coming up, safety's coming up, safety's coming up. Kind of easier to run past a safety, once he gets used to coming up so much. So I don't think I'm saying Alabama's not going to throw deep balls. I'm just saying there won't be as many because that was Milroe. Ty's a little different. I think
Ty's got a good arm, though.
He does have a good arm.
Not
I
a
see
weak
stuff
arm.
every now and then about how Ty doesn't have a good arm. I don't know where that comes from. Ty's actually got a plus arm. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
When it comes time for Ty to play in the NFL, and the NFL scouts are dissecting his game, I don't think you're going to see doesn't have a good arm anywhere. Now, does he have a hose? No, Milroe could throw it through the car wash and the ball wouldn't get wet. Ty's not that guy, but Ty's got more than sufficient arm strength for the position, even in the SEC.
The problem was Milroe could throw the ball through the car wash and the ball wouldn't get wet, but he'd end up breaking your window in the car on the other side. It's like because it was inaccurate. I'm just teasing. I love Jalen Milroe. Anywho, so do you think like our first X plays will be scripted?
Yes.
I do too. I think like first 10 plays or whatever it is,
Yeah. Now I understand about a script. I think some people get a little confused as to what that means. That doesn't mean that, okay, the first 10 or 12 plays are locked in. There's still some down and distance. There's some flexibility there with the script. I mean, if all of a sudden, you're running your script and now you have 4th and 1. I doubt if the 5th play on your card says, hey, we're throwing deep here. You don't do that on 4th and 1. You run your 4th and 1 plays. But the reason that the scripted plays are a good idea, particularly with a brand new quarterback, Luke, is you rep them to death. Hey, these are the plays we're running. First 10, first 12, first 15 plays. These are the plays we're running. You rep them to death so that the quarterback is extremely comfortable with these play calls. And that's why you do it, to build some comfort and to know what you're repping overkill. And
Straight handoff.
That's why it's and I think there will be more throws, but still I think an emphasis on the power ground game. I don't get away from the fact that Dylan Johnson ran for so many yards for Washington in 2023. They're not abandoning a run game. And DeBoer, one last thing to throw in that I think is very hard to do, but DeBoer and Grubb have built this offense. It is hard to build an offense that's based on throwing the football all over the yard and maintain physicality. Mm-hmm. That's hard to do. A lot of these, quote, spread offenses are soft. They're soft. They have a difficult time establishing run game because all they do is work on throwing it around. It's hard to throw it a lot and be physical. Mm-hmm. But I think DeBoer and Grubb have designed an offense that does that.
You want to see like a straight handoff first play, or do you want to see like a receiver screen? Do you want what do you want to see? Part of me is like, I kind of wish they'd let Ty uncork one first play. But if the problem is if that doesn't work and if it ends badly, you could really damage his confidence. But I don't know. I think he's been there long enough. This isn't like a true freshman going out there. He's been there long enough where I think he can know that, okay, I may need to take off. The play didn't develop the way I wanted to, because you always feel like on the first play, if for Florida State on defense, they're going to try and just like come at you quickly. It's not going to be a
I would say,
something where they're passive on the first defensive play of the year.
My first snap would be they chart every play in practice. I would. What pass has Ty completed the most successfully? What works best? What if I need like a guaranteed completion from Ty Simpson? What's that call? And they chart the plays. I would say I want Ty to throw it on first down, but I also want him to complete it. That's more important than the yardage. I know that sounds silly, but what I mean is he needs confidence, and he needs confidence quickly, and you need to do what you can to make Ty feel comfortable. You could even ask him. In the NFL, they ask him all the time, like, what do you want to run here? What do you feel comfortable? What do you want to run here? I think that's what with Ty, it's like, okay, what pass play are you most comfortable with? And we're going to do that on 1st and 10.
Let me tell you this. Rocco Becht, who played quarterback for Iowa State this past weekend, on the final drive, Iowa State, there was 6 minutes and 35 seconds left when Kansas State scored, and they never got the ball back. And two of the biggest plays, they just said this on the radio this morning, Rocco Becht called them. Like the one where they decided to go for it on 4th down instead of kick the field goal to make it a 6-point game. The little play to tight end, that was Rocco Becht came up with that play. And so that's the kind of comfortableness level I want him to have.
Perfect example. Now, Rocco, of course, is a senior who's played a ton of football, returning starter and all that. But Ty's got a lot of that innately in him. Dad's a coach. He's been around this his whole life. Ty is even a first-year starter, kind of like a Mac Jones that you can go to with that. And I'm all about making Ty comfortable. And let's remember, I said this is an SEC. Alabama was 2-3 on the road a year ago. I mean, I see a lot of big-time confidence or overconfidence in the fan base out there, and I wish everybody looked at it. It's an SEC road game, and Alabama needs an A-plus effort needs to be the goal here, and get out with a win and come home to Tuscaloosa for 2 weeks.
But Nick Saban lost 3 games his first year at home. Again, not trying to make the comparison between DeBoer and Nick Saban. I'm just saying the first year you got to get a lot of the kinks out, and then hopefully
Saban had a big second year. Saban had a big year too. Gene Stallings had a big year too. Yeah. The last 2 national championship coaches at Alabama didn't win national titles in their year 2, but they put good teams. So Saban's team was number 1 going into the postseason, and Stallings' second team finished.
Tony had a big second year.
He did. Alabama had 10 wins that season. Yep. So second year's big.
Tell you something else is big. FanDuel, August 26th. That's going to be their FanDuel Futures Day. I know you've heard about it. A brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, one whole day, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. Take a flyer on the MVP race. I mean, like anybody. I mean, take Derrick Henry if you want to. I mean, why not? It's FanDuel Futures Day. So crown your champion, do whatever you want to do. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. You know, at FanDuel, that's where you play your game. Somebody also reminded me to mention that Rugiet Ready is a Jimmy Stein guarantee, and I will do that from now on. But let me tell you about the listener survey. I want you guys to go check it out. And please do. There's a little, what do you call those things? A QR code? Yeah. Go use the QR code, whatever, and just fill it out really quickly. It won't take 2 seconds. We'd appreciate it. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey and get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. You guys are awesome as per usual. I'm taking a look at the weather here again, Jimmy. This is going to be a talking point all week long.
Yep.
It's looking like PM thunderstorms, which I can live with, except it'll be 3:30 Eastern when this game kicks. So PM, I think of that as nighttime.
The whole game will be played in PM.
Yeah, but I mean, when you tell me PM, I think nighttime. I mean, I know it's anytime afternoon, but I'm saying I think PM means nighttime. And so I'm thinking, okay, if it doesn't rain till night, I'm cool with it. I don't, not the first game. Don't rain on me. Don't rain on me for first game. Come on now.
And we've talked about it. It's more superstition than logic, but it rained at that South Florida debacle last regular season game they played down there in Florida. That was a debacle. It rained in the first quarter of the Michigan game and the bowl game in Florida, and that was a complete debacle. The rain part, which I think was a major factor in how the game played out. So I think based on that alone, the rain makes me nervous. I also think of rain as a great equalizer. By that, I mean, if the field is slippery, does it really matter who's the more talented team? I mean, because everybody's slipping and sliding. To me, it's like weather to me is like a great equalizer, where now all of a sudden, I mean, Ryan Williams might be the best wide receiver on the field, but it's slippery. He can be slipping and sliding all over the place, and it negates the talent. So you got to be mentally tough to win these weather games. And in terms of stepping it up, I'll be a broken record on this. I think all this season long, but I think the line of scrimmage is huge here. And Alabama's all-stars on the line of scrimmage is who needs to step it up Saturday.
So who specifically, though? Give me one name, and I'll give you one name.
LT Overton.
All right, I'm going to say Tim Keenan.
Okay, I like it. But the all-stars, and they both fit that moniker on defense. The all-stars have to step up and play big and play, set the tone, not just for the Florida State game, set the tone for 2025. That I've taken a big step forward in my development. I'm a better player. We're a better defense. I think it's about the stars, and really both sides of the line of scrimmage, not just on defense, but I think Proctor and Brailsford on offense, the all-stars on the offensive line, be dominant. I mean, Brailsford's going to have his hands full with Daryl. Neutralize Daryl Jackson, and you've neutralized a big chunk of what Florida State's really good at. I mean, that's a great challenge for Parker Brailsford. By the way, Parker, NFL's watching. I know you want to play pro football. They're going to watch this tape. This is the tape they're watching because they know that Jackson dude is somebody that you're likely to see at the next level. So it's a big game for him NFL-wise because that's a good pro football matchup. Proctor, you've got that, talented defensive ends at Florida State, the McCray kid that transfer from Western Kentucky. The other kid on the other side, he's a transfer too. But no, the guys at the line, win the line of scrimmage and you'll win this football game.
I'm with you on that. And as far as the edge goes, I mean, setting the edge, containment is going to be huge. Castellanos is Jalen Milroe Jr. Now he's not as good as Jalen Milroe. I challenge a Florida State or BC guy to tell me he is. But
no one's calling it. No one's going to call Castellanos in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft.
No. But he is slippery, and he does have a knack for getting yards when needed. He did it last year against Florida State, and mostly with his feet.
I would say he's similar to Diego Pavia. I mean, to me, he shares similarities with Pavia.
He's more athletic.
Jalen, maybe.
More athletic, right?
Probably. Yeah, probably. So probably, on the clock. On the clock, yeah. Pavia is just so effective. I think Castellanos is fast.
Pavia is more accurate, I would say. Pavia is probably more.
I'd say Pavia is a better
passer.
Pavia
is more probably more, but just smarter. How about that?
They're just similar in the sense that the zone read and the RPO, that's the game. That's the game they bring to the table, and that's what you have to defend.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.